All right, we begin here in Nigeria. A bill for startups is in the works for Nigeria. The Nigeria Startup Bill project is a joint initiative by Nigeria's tech ecosystem and the presidency that's driven by the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy to harness the potential of the digital economy through co-created regulations. Using its big tent approach, the bill aims to get input from both government and tech ecosystem stakeholders. For more information on this, we're going to speak with Funkola Odeleye, who's the co-founder of the DIYLaw. Welcome, Funke. Good afternoon to you. So, how long has this been in the works?
It's been in the works for months. We actively started working on it around May of this year.
Okay, and is there a view as to when exactly this, I guess, the whole passageway, legislative passageway, when it gets done and then goes on to Parliament and so on and so forth? Any time frames?
All hands on deck right now. We've come up with the first draft, and then we've engaged MDAs, stakeholders, people in the tech ecosystem. And then the next thing that we're doing is collating all of these comments, and we're taking them into the final draft. So we're hoping that we can present a final bill by the end of this month, and hopefully the president can take it to the National Assembly by October.
Great stuff. So Funke, the question that a lot of people are asking, why is there a need for a startup bill?
There is a huge need for a startup bill, especially in Nigeria. Nigeria has huge tech potential. We have a lot of tech talent. We've seen the rise of technology startups in Nigeria, and then we've seen what we're capable of exporting in terms of technology. And we need this regulation that sort of harnesses and pulls everything together. We have to be able to have regulations that help businesses start, grow, as well as scale. And so that one-stop regulation that puts everything together, that ensures that there is an ecosystem that allows small businesses, technology talents, technology companies thrive, is what we're looking at. And that's the necessity for the startup bill.
Okay, and so the thing is, though, and just help me out to understand this, it looks like the focus is on tech, yeah. So this is just for the tech sector. So if this bill passes and exists, what about other sectors in Nigeria's economy? What about manufacturers? What about fast-moving consumer goods? If one wanted to start selling potato chips tomorrow, are they going to call for a potato chips bill for fast-moving consumer goods? I'm trying to get the sense of why the tech community feels that it has to get its own bill for its own sector, and why that's necessary versus other sectors in the country.
You're correct. This bill is for technology startups, tech-enabled startups, and anybody who's using digital innovation to fuel their businesses. And so you gave the example of a potato chip company. A potato chip company is not exempted from, the technology startup bill. If there's some sort of innovation, digital innovation that drives their business, and if there's technology adopted by their business model, then they're covered by the startup bill. Now, we see that there are laws that govern other parts. There's a petroleum industry bill. There's SMEDAN that caters to, small and medium enterprises. So I think the startup bill, we're essentially now, playing catch up and creating something for the technology ecosystem.
Great stuff. I'm not sure if I want to ask you about, whether this would supersede other regulations that are out there. For instance, NITA, there's a draft bill that was leaked. That's the National Information Technology Development Agency, that caused a bit of a stir because it had some overlap in how digital enterprises will function. Again, it's a draft. It's not official. But how would this bill work? I guess, is it going to be recognized to where NITA and other regulators that have oversight in the tech space would recognize what you've put together?
We are working actively with all of the stakeholders. We were enjoying the full backing and support of NITA, and even though we have heard and seen, and like you rightly said, a leaked bill, I will sort of omit to comment on that right now because it is a leaked bill. But the whole essence of this startup bill is to ensure that, all of the regulators are sort of on the same page And we're pulling all the resources together. So CBN for fintech startups, as well as SEC, CAC, the patent registry, NICTA, and everyone. So this is a big tent approach where we are pulling together all the stakeholders who currently regulate different aspects of the technology industry. And so we hope that we'll continue to enjoy the support of NICTA, as well as all of these other stakeholders and NDAs.
Considering Nigeria's business environment and what's happened in the past with tech firms, no need to get into any details. How do, at least the players that you're dealing with, the private sector players in the tech space, how optimistic are they about whatever it is that's eventually signed into, becomes an actual act? How optimistic are they that the regulators will stick to it?
I think that the events of the last few months, especially in terms of regulation of startups, has, created a wake-up call for tech entrepreneurs. And we all now realize that there needs to be harmonized laws that deal with startups. There needs to be a friendly environment that allows, startups grow. And so the ecosystem, and when I say ecosystem, I mean like the private players and founders of technology companies, understand that this is very necessary. And for that reason, the way that we have approached it is with taking everybody's input. You can't regulate for people without them understanding what this regulation is bound to do. So we've held town hall meetings, and we continue to hold this for their input. And I will say that the feedback is very positive. The ecosystem players, private sector, these co-founders and founders, of technology companies are optimistic. And we hope that at the end of the day, the bill is truly reflective of the kind of environment that they would be able to grow in.
Are you okay? Are you following what's been going on around the world with other tech companies? For instance, we're going to talk about this in a sec with our other in-house analysts. WhatsApp, for example, being fined 225 million euros over in the EU. Apple's facing an antitrust suits everywhere, from the EU to India. There's this fear that tech companies, they start as startups and then they end up growing. They're getting too big, and this is worrying governments around the world. Are you sure that there's no such worries here in Nigeria if you've seen some of the valuations of some of these tech companies coming from Nigeria, which have been celebrated, but do you get a sense that government's a little worried about these tech companies just taking over everything 5-10 years down the line?
I should hope not. It's for the collective benefit of everyone if these tech companies out of Nigeria are hitting these kinds of valuations, and then they're making these kinds of strides, not only in Nigeria, but outside the country. And so I would say that we shouldn't hopefully see a fear from the government. And we hope that the government will try and understand and move as fast as tech startups move. So we need agile regulations. We need people who understand the kinds of innovations that are coming out. And so without understanding it, they won't be able to regulate it. And so we need more, more engagement with regulators for them to understand what's coming out in terms of technology. And so they know where to plug any gaps or plug any holes in terms of data privacy, antitrust laws, and the examples that you've given of WhatsApp and Apple just this week.
All right, great stuff. I think I already asked this earlier, but let me just ask again in case for our viewers. Timelines, is anything going to happen by the end of September? Anything going to happen by the end of this year, or are you looking at 2022 to get this all, wrapped up and hopefully an act?
It's happening as quickly as possible. We are hoping that the final draft, we're actually working to ensure that the final draft is presented to the president by the end of this month. And hopefully by October, it goes to the National Assembly. So it's 2021, not 2022. And we're hopeful that we can meet these timelines.
All right, great stuff, great stuff. And also, what about the body language that you've been getting from because we've seen images there of Dr. Issa Pantami, Minister of the Digital Economy and so on. What's the body language been like from the government?
It's been very supportive. We had a session in August where we had all the MDs together in a room. And so we spoke to all of these representatives from these MDs, and then they sounded very optimistic. They sounded like they were ready to work with us. And so I will say that the body language, as well as even I'll say verbal confirmation that we've received is that this bill is needed, and they're going to throw their weight and support behind it. The Honorable Minister was at this event, and I want to borrow his words to say that this is his bill. So we're glad that this is happening and that we're enjoying the support that we are enjoying at this point.
All right. Oh, okay. Wait. I got one more question for you. What about edits? Have they made it? Have they made a lot of edits to the bill? Like, hey, okay, no, why don't you change that and change this? How's that process been going?
We are making a lot of changes to it. For every time when you think that we think that we've come up with something, you hear from another stakeholder, and it's very important that all of these voices are represented in the room. And so, yes, we're making edits. We're still collating more. We're having town halls, and there are going to be other engagement sessions in different states. So we know that even more comments are coming, and we're going to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and well catered to within the ambit of this startup bill.
All right, great stuff. We'll have to follow up with you and see how it goes. Wish you the best of luck. Funkola Odeleye, who, of course, is with DIYLaw. Thank you so much for talking to us about the startup bill.